young brother was on his way to work early one morning when he was held up and robbed at gunpoint. The thieves took his laptop, his cell phone, his wallet with money and IDs, but thank goodness they didn't hurt him or take his life. Shaken and afraid, he borrowed a cell phone and called home and told his mother of his terrifying ordeal. Mama, I've been robbed, roughed up, and I don't know what to do. And I'm afraid just to call the police. This is what his mama said: son, don't call the police. Don't you call the police. For if you call the police, you might lose much more than you have lost. Son, I beg you, please don't you call the police. My son, it's a classist and bigoted system that we are living in. Not all of us citizens are treated equally or the same. The only people that can feel safe to call the police and complain are the rich and famous, the bourgeois and the pale skin. Son, I tell you, don't you call the police. I'm begging you, please. Don't call the police. For if you call the police, you might lose much more than you have lost. Son, I beg you, please, don't you call the police. Son, don't call the police. Don't call the police. Before you call the police, make sure you think twice. Son, I beg you, please, don't you call the police. You must only call the police if or when you have no better choice. Son, I beg you, cut your loss, but please don't you call the police. Come home safe, my son, but please don't you call the police.
Some songs end too long, end too short, not too long. I wish it was a lot longer. That's what I meant to say. Anyway, welcome to another episode of the LanceScurv Show. Of course, this is yours truly. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here once again with a great man. Yes, we have to acknowledge in our communities and in our midst when we have a great man with us and amongst us. Well, why is he great? Well, he's great because he's self-educated, educated, but he's not indoctrinated. That's the bottom line. He's not indoctrinated. He has very unique perspectives that I would say are pretty much on point. And he's very clear in how he expresses himself. There is no doubt as to how he's thinking or what he's thinking, because he's a man who thought everything through. All I'll say is that his presence in my life has taught me to be more of an independent thinker. Too many of us in this lifetime, we go along to get along. We come into a system and we just don't ask questions. And the minute that some of us ask questions, we're herded back in. You're not supposed to ask that question. If God wanted you to know it, then he'd tell it to you. Well, you're the person who's here. We have all these schools dotting the landscape, but it keeps us in mental slavery. We have all of these churches dotting the landscape, especially in our downtrodden neighborhoods, for those of us who live here. And we have more ignorance, we have more spiritual despair than anything else. What's wrong, people? Well, I have to say that with the Mystic Philosopher, he's a light piercing the darkness of ignorance. And because of that Mystic Philosopher, I'm not going to talk no more. I want to hear what you have to share today, because I know it's going to be something phenomenal. Welcome to the show.
Ashe. Ashe is the word, the source of I and I ancestors. Ashe is the source that holds all things together. Ashe is I source, I shield and I protector. Ashe is I source, I guide, and I provider. Ashe is I source. That is why I am not black. Ashe is I source. I cannot be lack. Ashe is I source. I light and I deliverer. Ashe is I source. I healed and I teacher. Ashe is I source. I leader and I spiritual fire. Ashe is I source. I strength. Each day I be more and more. Ashe is I source. I spiritual comforter. Each day I be more stronger. Ashe is I source. I sustainer. Each day my life is filled with more pleasure. Ashe walk with I daily to much greener and greener pastures. Ashe walk with I beside some very cold and deadly waters. Ashe walk I through the valley of blackness and under the shadow of blackness. And so I fear no evil or what the devils may try to do. Thank you, my brother Kojo, for such kind words and introduction, and for welcoming me once more to this, your global platform. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe I say to you all, my fellow highly enriched in melanin and highly enriched carbon skin brothers and sisters the world over, and goodwill and more to all those that may give of their time and listen to this show. First, and on behalf of my most honorable African ancestors, please let me begin by again expressing my deepest gratitude to you, my brother Kojo, for inviting me forward to speak and share with you and your audience some more of my very thought-provoking perspectives, also known as my truths, from this your global platform, the one and only LanceScurv Show. And thanks very much to you all, the LanceScurv Show audience, listeners, and commentators, for finding my thought-provoking perspectives interesting enough or possible, informative enough to have me forward again. But above all, I thank you for finding them worthy of your time and your attentive listening ear. I truly appreciate you all for thoughtfully and purposefully giving of your limited amount of time to listen to I, the Mystic Philosopher, on this, the LanceScurv Show. So again, enough love, enough respect, and big up yourself, my brother Kojo. And be more, and more, and much, much more. Secondly, before I get into today's topic for my discourse titled Black, a Mark of Death by Force, Part 1, and the subtitle, My Highly Enriched Melanin Carbon Skin People, also known as my African people, my African people's dreadful fear of the Black Force, aka the Black Police, which is also under the banner of redemption from the curse of the Black Spell. This is part 3, and my prepared notes for the show. And as customary, I would like to make a public disclaimer, and that is the views, the thoughts, the opinions, and thought-provoking perspectives, my truth if you will, that I'm about to share with you all listeners, well-wishers, trolls, haters, and enemies of my people, my African people, are not necessarily those of the host, my brother Kojo, or those of this, the LanceScurv Show in general, but that they are of the spirits and souls of my most honorable African ancestors, and particularly the spirits and souls of my most honorable African ancestors that were and that are the direct, up close and personal victims of the Black Caucasians' malevolent kidnapping and transatlantic slave trade. and also the restless spirits and souls of my innocent elders, mothers, brothers, sisters, and children that have fallen victims at the vicious and merciless hands of the malevolent Caucasoid system and its agents of force, and especially the wandering spirits and souls of those of my most honorable African ancestors that to the latent, bestial, and sadistic instinct, pleasure, and delight of the black Caucasians were captured, yoked, chained, shackled, and packed in the Christian missionaries' merchant ships. And some, while chained and shackled, were mercilessly thrown alive overboard the Christian missionaries' merchant ships and fed to sharks in some of the world's most vicious and shark-infested waters, whereby they were helplessly, defenselessly, torturously, and ferociously torn to pieces while being eaten alive by sharks, and have their spirits and their souls violently forced, violently snuffed from their bodies. And for over 400 years they have been restlessly roaming, restlessly wandering the oceans, the seas, and the waters, waiting for us, the seeds of those of their African brothers and sisters that survived the heinous journey and made it alive to the shores of the strange, the evil, unjust, abominable, and unknown world of their devious conquerors, captors, barbaric thieves, sexual predators, sexual deviants, slave masters and slave mistresses, their heirs and successors. For over 400 years they have been restlessly roaming and wandering the seas, waiting for us, the offspring and ascendants of their African brothers and sisters that endured and survived the horrors of chattel slavery and preserved their African and melanin genes, that preserved their African and melanin seeds, so that today we will set the record straight, so that today we will get it right and call upon them, invoke them, honor them, pour libation for them and to them, to proclaim their names and declare them, so that here and now in this physical realm and there in the spiritual realm, we will together inflict true spiritual and retributive justice on the evils. For how can I forget? How can we, my brothers and sisters, forget? Why must we forget? How must we forget? And how can we humanly, consciously, honestly, sensibly, and spiritually forgive the evils and atrocities, the extremely wicked and cruel acts that have been brought upon our people, and by extension upon us, their offspring and ascendants, by the evils? It is their spirits and souls, the spirits and souls of these my most honorable African ancestors, and the innocent fallen victims of the system and its agents of force that I invoke, that I call upon, that I now call upon, and whose spirits at this time are now being channeled through I, the Mystic Philosopher. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. So here again, in the event that any of you listeners, well-wishers, trolls, haters, and enemies of my African people may hear some things, may hear some possible new and so-called controversial ideas that may offend you, that may upset you, that may disturb you, or some thoughts that may disrupt or conflict with some of your most long affectionately held beliefs, I humbly ask that you hold them, my most honorable ancestors, the innocent and the innocent fallen victims of this system's agent of force, and I, the Mystic Philosopher and Messenger, fully responsible, and not this, the LanceScurv Show, or my brother Kojo, who has been more than courageous, generous, and open-minded enough to allow me another opportunity to speak here. You know, the late Bob Marley once said, "The truth is an offense, but not a sin." From my perspective, if we can all agree that this statement is true, then if any of you listeners, enemies of my people, haters, enemies of my African people, and trolls of this, the LanceScurv Show, if any of you are in any wise offended by what I am now saying and what I will say, then logically, you must also agree that it is not because of I, the mystic philosopher, the messenger of my most honorable ancestors, the source of my message, but it is because of the truth. Meaning, it is because it is the truth. For only the truth could, only the truth can, and only the truth will offend, upset, and disturb you. And by extension, only the truth can offend us all. As it has been written, for the word of truth is alive and powerful. It is sharper than the sharpest two-edged sword, cutting between soul and marrow and spirit, between joints and marrow. It exposes our innermost thoughts and desires, unquote. Thirdly, and for those of you that might be listening to me for the first time, let me briefly introduce who I am and tell you a little bit more about myself. I am the Mystic Philosopher, aka Dr. David G. Jones, an inspirational speaker, metaphysician, spiritual counselor, philosopher, free thinker, truth seeker, musician, poet, singer, songwriter, internet blogger, YouTuber, a happiness coach. I am more, and I am becoming much, much more. 3 of my most favorite quotes that truly summed up my basic life philosophy and practice are, and I quote, "To seek and keep the company of those who seek the truth, but run away from those who have found it," unquote. Václav Havel, a former president of the Czech Republic. In other words, I, the mystic philosopher, always try my very best, and in as much as it may be humanly possible, to avoid people who are claiming to have found the truth, people who are claiming to have the truth, those who are claiming to know the truth, you name them, and especially all those that are wrapped up, tied up, mentally messed up and tangled up in the system's Jesus and the system's religions, and in all religions and belief systems for that matter. From my own personal experiences with these people, most of whom are my own melaninated people, my own African people, they have permanently suspended their inherent faculty for reason. And the evidence has also shown and proved that they have all suspended their ability to reason and are by faith existing only on the step of belief. They have become permanent citizens on the step or on the level of belief. They have been deceptively stuck on the step of belief, not realizing that in order to get to the zenith of our becoming on this plane, namely the dome of the wise, also known as the wise dome, wisdom, we must progress to the second level called knowledge, and then to the third step or to the third level called understanding, understanding, and overstanding, and finally to the fourth step called the dome of the wise, also known as the wise dome, wisdom. My second quote: speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and the ignorant, they too have their story. Max Ehrmann, author of The Desiderata. And third, life as we think we know it is all about asking questions. And the questions life asks provide the answers that only ask more questions in the everlasting quest for knowledge of truth. Unquote, yours truly. As stated and implied in my earlier presentations on this show, that my aim and goals are to examine, to explain, to show and prove to all my people or more correctly, to show and prove to most of my melanin people, my viewers and listeners alike, that we, the natural native earthly humans, we, the Earth's organic humans, we humans that are identifiable by our highly enriched carbon skin, or if you prefer, our highly enriched melanin skin complexion, also known as Africans, we, the people that are the pre-Adamic humans, we, the people that are deceptively, erroneously, maliciously, deliberately, disparagingly, and sorcerously called, named, labeled, listed, carded, and profiled black, as the black people, are the direct victims of the curse of the black spell. A curse that has been cast and placed on us by our formidable adversaries, the alien invaders and conquerors that are originally from the Caucasus Mountain in Caucasia. And that the first step towards removing their curse, the curse of the black spell, is that we must immediately stop calling ourselves black, stop associating ourselves with the word black, stop identifying ourselves with the word black, stop calling our communities, our children, or you name them, black. We must stop having all others, especially our enemies, calling and labeling us black, etc. And secondly, we must immediately stop calling and labeling Caucasian people and all to whom it may concern white, thereby perpetuating their lies and perpetuating their fraudulent white status. It's a fraud, and a very blatant and audacious one at that. We must also stop telling people that the pale skin, or if you prefer, the melanin deficient skin looking image of the character called Jesus or Yahushua that they have in their churches or in their schools and in their homes, etc. We must stop telling people and our children that it is white. We must stop having our enemies and deceivers stop laughing at us and calling us names such as stupid, imbeciles, you name it, for not being able and intelligent enough to distinguish black from white, darkness from light. Today I will be introducing the first in the series of my discourses titled Black, a Mark of Death by Force, and the subtitle, My Highly Enriched Melanin People, or My Highly Enriched Carbon Skin Peoples, also known as My African People's Dreadful Fear of the Black Force, also known as the Black Police, Part 1. And this series of discourses will still be under the banner of redemption from the curse of the black spell. This is part 3. But before I do, please let me answer a few of the great and interesting questions and comments that I have received via email from some of you listeners and critiques of my 2 earlier discourses titled Redemption from the Curse of the Black Spell Part 1 and Part 2. Some of you may find some of my answers very detailed, so I hereby ask for your patience. It is just for clarity and definitely not to keep you bored or to make you bored. Question number 1. What do you mean by the natural native earthly humans and the Earth's organic humans, also known as Africans, are the pre-Adamic race of people on the planet Earth? Let me repeat that question for those of you who did not get it. Question 1. What do you mean by the natural native earthly humans and the Earth's organic humans, also known as Africans, are the pre-Adamic human or the pre-Adamic race of people on the Earth? My answer. First, and without getting into too much detail as at this time, on this very important question, please let me quickly explain that by the word natural, I simply mean that we are directly of our source and mother nature. We are not counterfeit. We are not crossbred or artificial, etc. By earthly, I simply means that our physical bodies are the literal composition of our source and mother earth. Literally, we are the earth. Some also say that we are dust, etc. By native, I simply mean that we are of and that we belong to our source and mother earth. And that unlike the restless and reckless roaming creatures, the roaming alien beast, the alien interplanetary invaders, the alien conquerors, the vicious alien creatures, the alien occupiers, dividers, colonizers, the devils, you name them, our Mother Earth is our home. We are the earth and the earth is us. And because our most honorable African ancestors knew that the earth is us and that we are the earth, that the earth is our mother and our home, and that unlike the strange visitors, we don't have anywhere out there to try and go back to. And that we are not dying to go to any heaven out there. Because we know that the earth is already in the place that our enemies and deceivers call heaven. We know that if the sun and other celestial bodies are in heaven, so too must be our earth, as it revolves around the sun. Because our ancestors know or knew that they, and by extension us, their ascendants, were not going to fly off or fly away home, and that they were not just passing through, etc. That is why they loved, revered, cared for, and appreciated our Mother Earth. Just like how none of us, the natural native earthly human of sound mind, would destroy our home, the place we live, the place in which we live. So too, they, our most honorable ancestors, would not be destroying our Mother Earth by drilling, mining, bombing, dumping, poisoning the waters, chopping down trees, killing animals for fun, and us humans alike, you name it, and thereby killing the very place we live and the very mother that is feeding and sustaining us. And thus, unlike the evils that have come upon us, we are entitled to be anywhere upon our mother's body, anywhere upon our earth, also known as our mother's spaceship. And we are entitled to feed from all that she provides naturally for us to feast from and to feast upon. It is the alien and their demonic forces that have divided us and set up so-called boundaries between countries, etc. By human, I simply mean that though physical in appearance, we are eternal. Again, without getting into too much detail on this point, but for your information, the word Hu, H-U, means or represents our source, also known as, it's commonly known in many circles as God. Hu equal to God. And the word man is from an ancient Sanskrit word that means or that refers to mind, M-I-N-D, or our thinking faculties, which mean man the thinker, man the one with intelligence. Thus man also means God mind, human, or the mind of God, etc. But I won't be getting too deep into that. By organic human, I also mean that we are natural versus genetically modified or being contaminated with the alien blood or the alien's DNA. By pre-Adamic, I mean exactly that. The Adamic race of humankind is not older than approximately 6,000 years. And the record will show, and the record has shown, that we have been here in this form for thousands of years, if not millions of years. The Adamic race, let me repeat, is only here 6,000 years now. In fact, because we are the earth, and the earth is us, we are as old as the earth. Question 2. What do you mean by we are not creatures and that God did not make us? Answer. I mean exactly that. We, the earth's organic humans, are not creatures. A point that I will explain shortly. And no, the Adamic God, aka the Adamic genetic scientist, did not create us. Activated common sense alone should affirm that if we are here millions, if not billions of years before Adam's God, aka the interplanetary invader and explorer, came along, then obviously he could not have so-called created us. Just like how Christopher Columbus did not discover no so-called New World or discover some people. The people were there before that demon, appeared. Question 3. Are we not all just one race, the human race, and the descendants of Adam? Answer. For your information, prior to the invasion of our planet by the Adamic God, our most honorable African ancestors had no idea, let alone concept of race. The whole idea of race and the family of isms are alien ideologies that came to our planet with the alien invaders. This could be a whole topic for discussion all by itself. However, I will briefly explain. To speak of race is to speak of competition. Let me repeat again. To speak of race is to speak of competition. Example. One group. I'm hearing you in the background, my brother. Example. One group competing against the other. One group trying to get ahead of the other. One group thinking or believing that it is superior to the other. And competition means, or competition also involves dishonesty, deception, sabotage, war, you name it. And war means disunity. War means death and utter destruction. That is what our most honorable African ancestors would interpret the concept of sin to mean. And sorry, one moment. Example. Okay, I'm being in. One more thing. Okay. The whole idea of race and the family of ism are alien ideologies. They came to our planet with the alien invaders. They are not of us. And that is what our most honorable African ancestors would interpret the concept of sin to mean. Sorry, I misplaced it. Apologize for that. It is evil. Race and the concept of competition to our most honorable ancestors is evil. And it was true. It was true this one man called Adam and his descendants, also known as one group of humankind, the creatures of the alien invaders, God, that brought upon us. I'm hearing a feedback in the background, my brother. It's sort of throwing me off. And thus, it is written that through one man, also known as Adam, and by extension through one race of humankind, the Adam or the Adamic race, sin, meaning evil, enters into this world. So let me quickly repeat that. Prior to the alien invaders coming here, our ancestors, the pre-Adamic natural native earthly humans, had no concept of race. And as I've said, race involves competition, dishonesty, you name it. It is the Adamic race that brought it here, and thus it is written that through one man, sin, the concept of sin meaning evil in this context, came into our world and upon us. What our most honorable African ancestors knew and practiced was cooperation, not competition, but cooperation. We live together as one family, the earthly human family, and not the earthly human race. As long as there is race, there is competition. Now let me also explain the creature called Adam for you. And for those of you that might be wondering why I called the mankind named Adam a creature, it is simply because of the fact that he was created. Unlike us, he was created by his creator or by a creator. For your information, the word creature, according to mankind's, or even more precisely according to the creature's own dictionaries, and in this case the online etymology dictionary, is defined as anything created. Hence a thing in general, animated or not, but most commonly a living being, unquote. For example, today and all around us we see the creation and promotion of GMOs, genetically modified foods, genetically modified humans, artificial intelligence, aka AI. We see transhuman and humans in trans. We see humanoids, robots, cyborg, you name them. They are created and they are being created. And just for the record, and for those of you, my fellow melanin / carbon skin people, we the natural native earthly humans, we the earth's organic humans that are deceived into believing that you are creatures, or that we too are creatures like Adam, the mankind, or more correctly, Adam, the kind of man, and that we too were created. And worst, that we were created by the mankind, Adam's creator, Adam's God. But though this may come as news and as a big surprise and possible very difficult for you and mentally grasp, to mentally comprehend and digest, especially if you are those that are still mentally, physically, and emotionally wrapped up, tangled up, and tied up in Jesus, or any of our enemies, our conquerors and vile oppressors, religions, and their gods. But the fact is that we are not creatures, but we are natures. We are and we belong to nature. We were here and we are here on this planet called Earth from time immemorial. We are the earth. We are the children of the earth, the offspring, the essence of our Mother Earth. We are pre-Adam, aka pre-Adamic. We are pre-mankind, pre-creature. And we will also be post-Adam, post-Adamic, post-mankind, post-creature. For as long as our Mother Earth survives, we will survive because we are the earth. Our source and Mother Nature has no beginning and she has no end, and so are we. However, the creature, mankind, the creature called Adam and his race, in his descendants has a beginning and an end. And so too is his creator and God, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And oh, what a day of rejoicing it will be for us, the earth's organic and highly melaninated humans. We, the natural native earthly humans, our fellow natural native earthlings, and our beloved Mother Earth. Oh, what a day of rejoicing it will be when this creature and his creator end come. The earth and all her natural inhabitants will sing and shout the victory. Oh, hasten that day, oh my source, Ashe. And why was this creature also called mankind, humankind, or the kind of man, or the kind of human? Why was he created, or why was he made? Well, according to his, mankind's race, history, and holy book, that I personally named the Adamic Race History and Holy Book, commonly known as the Christian Holy Bible. The purpose of his creation was and still is to dominate. His creation was and is to dominate, to subjugate, to humiliate, and eventually to exterminate us, the natural native earthly humans. Full stop. His creation, or the reason why he was created by his creator, his genetic scientist, also known as his God and maker, and as his own records have shown, and our own practical experiences with him or with them around have proven, is for them to use force. In fact, brute force, evil force, and evil forces to put us under his or under their total and humiliating subjection. And when I say us, I am saying we, the pre-Adamic earthly humans, we, the natural native earthly humans, also known as the earth's organic humans. We also meaning our Mother Earth and all her natural inhabitants and all our fellow natural earthlings. And regretfully, and as the record will show and has shown, that since the arrival of mankind among us, they have brought us nothing but bad omen. They have brought in nothing but curse, fear, terrorism, suffering, enslavement, exploitation, pollution, poverty, disease, chaos, miseries, confusion, disunity, mayhem, hate, total havoc, genocides, death, and utter destruction, only to name a few of the curses that these creatures, these abominable you-know-what, have brought upon us. Please let us read and prove this that I have just said for yourself from his, the Adamic Race History and Holy Book. And I quote, "Then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground." Then God said, "I give every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it, they will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds in the sky, and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food." And it was so. This is from the Adamic Race History Book, Genesis chapter 1 and verse 26 to 30 of the New International Version. Now, To you all, my honest listeners, and especially those of you that are open-minded and whose common sense is activated and intact, please ask yourselves this question. What God, whose God, or which God that would want, let alone give his or her or its children power and domination, power to dominate and to rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, to rule over the livestock and all the wild animals, to rule over all the beasts in the field, to rule over all the creatures that move along the ground, to rule over everything that has the breath of life. What God would want to do something like that? And please ask yourself this question. What human that would want to believe that, let alone do something like that? And while you are in your thinking mode, please also ask yourselves the question, what God, whose God, or which God that would want only one group of people, his creatures, and his creatures alone to be upon the earth? Thus he instructed them to, quote, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it. The question you need to ask, where are the rest of people supposed to go? Where are we, the pre-Adamic humans, that were here millions of years before them or thousands of years before them? Where are we supposed to go? Well, evidence has shown that it is only the creature, the mankind, or the kind of man called Adam and his descendants and their inherent alien God complex that would want to do such unnatural things. Now let me also set the record straight by further highlighting the huge gulf of differences between us, the pre-Adamic humans, and the very evil and destructive Johnny-come-lately alien creatures, mankind, also known as the Adam and his descendants, the Adamic race. Our source and mother, Mother Nature, gave us, her offspring, no such instructions, no such natural desires or inclinations. She gave us no such envy or thirst for power to rule, envy or thirst for power to dominate, to subjugate, to humiliate, and to exterminate anyone or anything, let alone for us to rule, dominate, and subjugate our women, our Mother Earth, and all our fellow earthlings. Those unnatural, anti-nature, satanic activities that can only be carried out by the satanic, unnatural, also known as the artificial and anti-nature creatures. The evidence has shown, and the evidence will no doubt continue to show, that it is only mankind, the creature called Adam, and his Adamic race, his Adamic offspring, his Adamic descendants, that have the inherent tendency, the built-in and the latent destructive programming of wanting to rule over, wanting to dominate and to subjugate women, to subjugate Mother Earth, and all that is feminine in nature. Finally, on this point, for now. So, for all you, my highly enriched melanin people, the Earth's organic humans, that truly, honestly, and sincerely will to know the following, or get answers to the following questions. 1. What really is racism? 2. What is bigotry? 3. Where did it all started? 4. Who started it? 5. Why was it started? 6. Who are the ones that are responsible for perpetuating it? 7. And who are the ones that have benefited from it and are benefiting from it to this day? Well, oops, there it is. Right here in chapter 1, verse 26 to 30 of the first book of the Adamic race history and holy book, also known as the Christian Holy Bible. I hereby ask that you read it for yourselves and silently ask our natural source and mother
and the spirits of our most honorable ancestors to open your mind, your eyes to this truth, so that you may not have to continue subjugating your intellect to racist ideologies, practice praying, calling and worshipping a racist alien god or gods, and to continue be black, listed by his creatures and servants, etc. But much more on this point at another time. Question 4. Aren't you afraid that white people will kill you for saying that they are not white? Answer. First, let me again remind you of the undisputable fact that under the inspiration and guidance of our source, Ashe, via our most honorable ancestors, I have unapologetically proclaimed to the world that there are no visible white people that are living on this our planet and Mother Earth, and that the people that are called, named, labeled, profiled, listed, etc. white, and those that call themselves white are not in the least white. In fact, not even those that are found wanted cannot and will not sensibly, intellectually, or even scientifically attempt to rebut, let alone rebut this fact. In fact, some of them are only hearing this for the first time on this the LanceScurv Show, that they are not white. They never know that before. If anyone listening know of any other radio or TV or YouTube channel that is allowing this undisputable truth to be proclaimed, I humbly ask that you mention it here or personally inform me of it. And just like some of us that are being awakened and enlightened to the truth and reality that we are not black and that we are not black, and are making an effort, that our ancestors are not black, and that we are making an effort to seek more knowledge of truth and to get rid of the curse. Some of them are also being rudely awakened and enlightened to the truth that they are not white. Just like we, they are also awakened to the truth that they are not white. With the exception of a few, most of them, like most of us, have lived their whole lives believing that they were white and that they are white. I can only imagine the trauma that some of them are going through right now, having discovered that they are not what they had believed themselves to be. You mean to tell me that I am not white? That can be very traumatic to some people. A few years ago, when I got the knowledge of this truth from my ancestors and was anxiously trying to wake up my melanin people by sharing it with them, but the rejections I got and the names that I was called by them made me almost start questioning my own sanity and doubting my own intelligence. In fact, I used to go on many so-called white nationalists and white supremacists websites, and some that expressed some very strong racist views, especially against my melanin people. And in the comment section, I would make comments and even ask them to please tell me and explain to me what it is about them that is white and how are they white. And with the exception of one, only one, none of them responded to me directly. In fact, most of them ban or block me from making comments on their channel. And some even threatened to flag me to YouTube. However, the one that responded to me via email told me that yes, we Europeans, quoting him, we know that we are not white. But your people are real niggers. They're so dumb that they don't and they can't even know that they are not black. He continued by saying that maybe in 100 years, long after you are dead and gone, that they will hail you as a hero, just like all those that came to them with truth long before you. Unquote. So no, I am not in the least afraid of white people, wherever they may exist, because white people are good people. White people are pure people. white people are fair and just people. White people are learned and intelligent people. White people are not evil. White people are people of moral goodness and unblemished character. White people are the direct opposite of black people. You name it. So my brother or sister, I the mystic philosopher, I am not afraid of white people, especially listen carefully now, were there or were any to be found living on this our planet and Mother Earth. But no doubt, as you must know by now, that there are none visible living on this our planet and Mother Earth. And I said visible just in case there may be some place unknown on the planet. Now, I'm getting a feedback in the background, brother. I'm hearing you loud and clear. Now, were I the mystic philosopher to be truly afraid of being killed or being afraid of any of the potential evils that lurks in darkness, also known as blackness, that if permitted could befall me by anyone or anything for exposing two of the biggest lies that the world has ever been told, then it most definitely would not and cannot be of white people. But the people that would want to bring about such my demise would be black people. Because the word black is synonymous with the word evil. In other words, black is evil. In fact, the truth be told, I am even more watchful and skeptical of those that are called black, especially those that hear the truth and know the truth but are still hanging on to black. In fact, thus far, all the oppositions and hate messages and disparaging remarks that I have gotten from people pertaining to this subject are from black people and those that call themselves black. To date, to the best of my knowledge, no one Caucasian has made any commentary on this, neither to deny or to confirm. The only people that are mad at me and are opposing me are the black among us and those that call themselves black. Secondly, no one can kill I. And I, the mystic philosopher, cannot die. The only thing that a black man or a black woman or a black something can or may do to I, if permission is granted, is to force the I from the I body. And for your information and edification, I might add, this is almost my 9th physical bodies that I have been through since the last time that I am aware of being incarnated here. Question 4. How dare you go on the LanceScurv Show and have the audacity to say that it is not his show? You should be grateful that the man even allowed someone like you to speak on his platform. Show some respect. Unquote. First, let me say thank you, my listener, for the question and your feed forward. And above all, for taking the time out of your limited amount of time to write and in no uncertain terms, letting me know your feelings and displeasure with me. I truly appreciate it. And it also gives me the opportunity to clarify what you may not have heard and also that which you may have heard. Secondly, please allow me to reiterate that I have nothing but profound respect for my brother, my beloved brother Kojo. From the first time I heard him speak when my wife found his channel and told me to listen in, and from the first time that I spoke with him and brother Kweko from my car in my driveway and was invited to share some of my perspectives on this, his show, and to present, I have nothing but divine love and respect for him and for what he's doing, which from my perspective is not for himself, but it is in service to our most honorable African ancestors, to us, their offspring. Now, for your information, when I said, and I quote, it is not the LanceScurv Show. And for all intents and purposes, it is not a show. And I must regretfully inform you all, those whom it may concern, that it is not no global black family either. And neither is it the global Be More family, and nor is it the global melaninated family, etc. Unquote. That those were not, and they are not my words. Those are words that I was given by my source via my most honorable African ancestors to speak. And it is to them only am I beholden. I honestly, and with the integrity of the core of my being, I meant no disrespect to my brother Kojo, who I have commended at all times for being courageous enough, open-minded enough, and above all for heeding the promptings of our most honorable African ancestors, and allow me to speak. Let's face it, my people. I have been singing, saying, writing, talking, etc. these things for well over 10 years. And over that period of time, with the exception of just one of my music or song videos titled A Tribute to Abused Women and Children that was posted 10 years ago, that has a bit over 17,000 views, I have never had so many people listen to me other than on this, my brother Kojo's, or the LanceScurv Show. Just when I was about to throw in the towel and say, let it be, now here am I being listened to by thousands of people worldwide. There is a verse of scripture in the Adamic race history and holy book called the Holy Bible that said, 1 shall chase 1,000 and 2 shall put 10,000 to flight. So now, thanks to my brother Kojo, thousands have heard this message from my most honorable African ancestors. From those thousands, and from those thousands, I am assured that there will be more than one that will join in this, the road to restoration movement, and put millions of our enemies to flight. So my appreciation and gratitude to this, my brother Kojo, is unquestionable. For all those who have the capacity to understand, and overstand, all it meant or more, all that our most honorable ancestors were saying to us all, is that our beloved brother Kojo is the gatekeeper, and that the mass awakening of our people at this time is not a show. Show is entertainment business. And if you feel offended by what they may have me say, then just appeal it with my ancestors. For those of you that may have listened to my first presentation titled The Redemption from the Curse of the Black Spell, you might remember hearing me say that because of the Black Spell, we as a people have no power. That we lack media power. And as a result, we are at the mercy of our oppressors. Well, for your information, and like it or not, that ain't no joke. And what our most honorable ancestors, African ancestors, would have me say to you right now is that there is no guarantee that a year or two from now we will have the same access and privilege to this and other like-minded channel like we are having today. So what some, if not all of you should start doing is to start download all the videos that are uploaded to this site. And for those of you that can print them or print them out in hard copy, you should do so as soon as possible. Secondly, they would like us all to know that we should not allow ourselves to get cocky and think that we own anything in this system. A fact, any of you can easily verify it by simply going to YouTube and watch a video titled Who Owns the Earth? Just type that in. It's around 8 minutes long, or I think 13 minutes long, and please watch it. Who owns the earth? And further search and research will also affirm that the earth's population of over 7 billion people, that it is less than 0.001% or 0.01% that own and control the world. Thirdly, from I the Mystic Philosopher's perspective, if you are called, if you are chosen to be a messenger for our most honorable ancestors, and to speak the message of truth as you receive it, or the words as you receive them, and if you truly surrender to their or to our ancestors' will, and then at the same time expect that everybody is gonna love you, or want everybody to like you, that everybody can or gonna be your friend, or that you can or that you will please everybody, that you will be the people's person, the people's choice at all times, etc., then I must regretfully inform you that you are sadly mistaken. And if you are ambitious and into getting money, material wealth, the system's power and fame, then you will be seriously tempted to compromise the information, also known as the message, and then start making up your own stuff to please and accommodate your audience. And then you won't be able to call out error and bad behavior anymore. And why? Because you are compromised. You will become like the sleeping watchman or sleeping watchwoman, and then you will stop hearing from our source and our most honorable ancestors. And sad to say, but in my time, I have seen many of our people got called into service of our source and ancestors, and because of their lust for the system's so-called prosperity and success, they have defiled themselves, and consequently the ancestors abandoned them to do their own thing. The ancestors say unto them, go make your money. So through Ashe and through and by Ashe, I will not compromise, because sometimes we are only given one opportunity. Sometimes we're only given one chance to stand for truth, one chance to speak and deliver a message, to do the right thing, one chance to do the right thing or to speak the truth, and also to reprove and rebuke errors without fear or compromise. So I, the Mystic Philosopher, don't really care if some of you, my own people, don't like me because of my fearlessness to speak the words of truth, as I perceive them and as they are given to me to speak, let alone care about what other people, aka my enemies, may think or want to do. Because quite unlike most of you, my people, I know myself, and I also know my enemies too. And I know their purpose, I know their intent, and what they were and what they are instinctively, artificially, and mechanically programmed to try and do to me. But what I do care about the most is that my ancestors continue to find favor in me and to use me as one of their many mediums of communication for as long as they see fit. Final question. Why do I call the Holy Bible the Adamic Race History and Holy Book? Answer. It is simply because that is exactly what it is. It is not our book. Almost everything that is written in it is for them and about them and their creator. Just check the genealogy alone. And against us, the natural native earthly human. Truth be told, in our most natural and highly enlightened state of our existence upon this planet, we did not need books. We simply did not need to literally write or record anything, because our memory was so naturally good and intact that our elders, who are now our ancestors, were able to pass on to us thousands, if not millions of years worth of knowledge and information orally. The evidence will show that it was when we started to devolved and started moving away from our mother nature and natural source that we had to start writing things and not the other way around. For example, just think of any other animal, any other natural native earthly animals on this our planet. Do you see them have any books or libraries, etc.? The answer is no. However, the elephant, as an example, the elephant can still pass on thousands, if not millions of years of knowledge and experience to its young. So please let us be mindful of this fact when next we start to boast about our writings and the past as if we was really progressive. Now, today I'm just going to be introducing the first in the series of my discourses titled Black, a Mark of Death by Force, and the subtitled My Highly Enriched Melanin Carbon Skin People, aka my African people's dreadful fear of the Black Force, aka the Black Police, Part 1. And this series of discourses will still be under the banner of redemption from the curse of the black spell. And what are my objectives? I will be just introducing this right now. What are my objectives? Answer. Among the many things that I would like to achieve from these discourses is one, to show and prove the fact that police is force and that force is police. Or to say it another way, it is to show and prove that police, by meaning and definition, and also for all intents and purposes, police mean force and force means police. 2 is to show and prove the fact that police equal force is not here or there to serve or to protect its citizens, aka the common citizens, also known as the commoners, also known as the civilians, also known as the subjects, etc. And especially if the citizens, commoners, and subjects, etc. are named, labeled, profiled, listed, carded, designated as black. 3rd is to show and prove the fact that police equal force and by the system's laws are only here or there to serve and protect the elites, the rich and famous, aka the government and the state. 4 is to show and prove that black is the mark of death by force, by police. 5 is to show and prove that as long as you called, labeled, profiled, named, listed, carded, designated, etc. black or as black, that you are seen by force equal police officers as suspicious, as dangerous, and as a threat to life, to their life and safety, or to the life and safety of the police officer. And in the mind of a police equal force officer, all forms of threats must be eliminated, must be controlled, must be subdued. 6, it is to show and prove why police equal force officers are some of the most lying, deceptive creatures on our planet, and why we melaninated people, also known as African, are not safe around them. And we are naturally afraid, and why we are naturally afraid of them. 7, to show and prove that all forces are unnatural, and as such they are evil, and evil to us, the natural native earthly humans, we the earth's organic humans. 8, it is to show and prove why we melaninated humans are afraid of police equal force, and also why we should be afraid of police equal force. 9 is to show and prove that black lives does not matter, that black lives has no value. 10 is to show and prove that the deceptively and fraudulently called white lives matter in the system. 11 is to show and prove that the justice system is exactly that, a system of justice, and that it has nothing to do with justice, especially if you are called, named, labeled, profiled, listed, carded, designated, etc. black. And that for us to expect justice from a system that was never about justice in its conception and inception, and that it is not about justice today, is only not wise, but that it is an illusion that is being pursued, but one that can never be attained. 12, it is to show and prove to where and to whom we must and should be looking for justice and retribution on our real and formidable enemies. 13, it is to show and prove why we should not be engaging in protest and demonstration, and why they don't work, won't work, and is not working. 14, it is to show and prove to you that blood money, what is blood money, and that we should not be taking the system's blood money. 15, it is to show and prove to you, my people, why entertaining the concept or the idea of fighting fire with fire is not wise, and also why we melaninated people, we are not to employ such strategy, or even think of employing such strategy. We could not and we would not win if we employ such strategy. In other words, for those among us that might become frustrated and tempted in wanting to do so, to fight fire with fire, or those among us that might be thinking about taking up arms and using the same force and evil strategies that are being employed against us, meaning to adapt the psychopathic and sadistic behavior of our enemies and try to apply it to them. I will show and prove to you from my perspective why that is not the way to go, and why it won't work, why it can't work, and why it is literally suicidal. Because try as we may, we can never be as wicked, inhumane, dangerous, and as cruel as these creatures. Those characteristics are not of us. That are the natural, native, earthly humans, the earth's organic humans. It is like comparing us, the natural, earthly humans, with the system's military robotics or robots. The systems, comparing us with the system's robot soldiers and war machines. They are just programmed to kill and destroy. There is no humanity in them. They can't help themselves. 16, I will show and prove that the popular saying that if you can't win them, join them is not always true or good for us melanin people. In other words, I will show and prove why having our people, our young men and young women join the system's force and forces will not and cannot protect us from the system and its force. In fact, the evidence has shown, and the evidence will no doubt continue to show, that some of our own melanin people that have joined the system's force and forces, thereby becoming imbued and induced with the system's force, have proven to be demonstrable far more cruel and merciless to us, their own people, than even their own masters and handlers. In fact, sometimes we stand a better chance dealing with a caucasoid agent of force than one of our own. 15, it is also to show and prove to you how our source and ancestors have been working and are bringing about justice and retribution on our enemies. It is just that most of us are not paying attention to some of their workings of our ancestors. Some are much too busy. Some of you are much too busy trying to get justice from the system of injustice. And I will show and prove to you how they can and will even work much harder in bringing about speedy retribution on our enemies. And I'm sure that our most honorable African ancestors will impart much more to share with you, so that you can think about them and do your own independent search and then research, so that you may be able to prove all things and hold fast to that which is good for you. The question that I guess some of you might be asking is this: why do I choose to talk about this, especially on this, the LanceScurv Show? Am I not afraid of what force can do to you or to me? And the answer are as follows. First, I personally did not choose this topic to talk about. It was chosen and it is given to me to talk about by my most honorable African ancestors. Secondly, and to the best of my current knowledge, this, the LanceScurv Show, is the only platform that my ancestors have approved and has thus far given me the opportunity to speak on. Thirdly, the thing called fear, or the phenomena called fear, is natural and real. It is as real as the natural phenomena called gravity. And from my perspective and experiences in this thing called life thus far, is that the best way to deal with this phenomena called fear is not resist it or fight it with more of itself. It's not to resist it or fight it with more of itself, with more fear. But it is to use reason and logic to confront it and subdue, or at the very least to control it. And that is also one of the reasons why we are given the capacity to think, the capacity to reason, to make logical decisions. But this is a whole topic all by itself. The bottom line is this. If you know the nature and characteristics of a beast, such as a venomous snake, a venomous spider, a raging lion, or an angry bear, etc., etc., and not know or not understand that if or when they are given the opportunity that they will poison you, bite you, ravenously rip you apart, and kill you, etc., then you are not wise. Finally, let us bear in mind at all times, something we should bear in mind at all times, that one of the reasons why evil and the devils continue to dominate us all is because the good ones among us aren't saying nothing. The good ones among us are not saying or doing anything that might help to put an end to it, or at least help to subdue it. Finally, let me end this by reading a poem by the late prominent Protestant pastor, namely Pastor Martin Niemöller, who emerged as an unspoken public foe of Adolf Hitler and spent the last 70 years of Nazi rule in a concentration camp, or in concentration camps, despite his ardent nationalism. And I quote, "First they came for the socialist, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me," unquote. This is the end. This is the end of my presentation / discourse for today. Black, a Mark of Death by Force, Part 1. And it's subtitled, "My highly enriched melanin carbon skin peoples, aka my African peoples' dreadful fear of the Black Force, aka the Black Police. All under the banner of redemption from the curse of the Black Spell." And I thank you for giving up your time to be watching or to be listening all the way to the end. I look forward to answering all your written questions as best as I can. I'm also looking forward with great anticipation to our meetup, a meeting of free and independent thinkers and liberal minds and liberated minds, and ancestral aware and revered melaninated humans. And as customary, I look forward to our respectful, healthy, and spiritually enlightened reasoning and discussion. Ashe, 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 I say, I am the Mystic Philosopher. Ashe. Back to you, my brother.
Ashe. Thank you so much, Mystic Philosopher. Once again, what a golden nugget of information and inspiration you give us. I could never thank you enough. We have to actually praise. And people get upset when we say that name or say that word, praise, because we're so caught up in that sky daddy that many subscribe to. But it's in us. The answers are all within us.
Perfect.
It's almost like religion has become a scam. When you have a pickpocket who tries to distract you and someone screams out and you look across the room and your wallet is sitting fat in your back pocket. Or the young ladies may have a handbag and everything's in full view, and while you're distracted, paralyzed by the noise that came to hit your ears unexpectedly, they go and grab and take your resources like they're so well known to do. So now we're looking up, waiting for something that never came. And it was said by Brother Aha at Remass Incorporated at the Road to Restoration, June 15th, 2019. I'm not stealing his words, I'm just sharing it along. He said, if this Jesus is your Savior is supposed to come in your lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And it hit me. Think of all of the people, brothers and sisters, who sat up and said, Jesus is coming and you better get right. The Savior is coming. This suffering that we're going through in the civil rights movement, this suffering that we're going through coming out of slavery, this suffering that we're going through in slavery, this suffering that we're going through in the modern day on our jobs. Can't even walk to the store sometimes without the police light shining on us. It's a damn shame. Yet we don't get together and focus on what we need to focus on and understand that the answer is inside of us. So we look up and look to that picture, that European that was painted, so that every time we see something that looks like him, we bow our head, we submit, we become more subservient. Men will take the bass out of their voice. Women will giggle a little more. We disarm ourselves and the power is within us. How many times have you been through a period where you say, listen, I'm broke to the end of the week, or money's kind of tight. And we're home and we say, you know what? You have a washer and dryer at home, or you go to the laundromat, whichever it is, and you begin to wash your clothes. And when you're taking the clothes out and searching through the pockets, here you go find a $100 bill or a $50 bill that was always there when you felt as though you were broke. You weren't broke, you just didn't know that you weren't broke. We're not powerless, we just don't know that we're not powerless. We have it all right here, but we don't even know it because we're looking up and somebody else is robbing our power for their benefit. Isn't that a damn shame? So our brother here, Mystic Philosopher, who has given us the benefit of years and years and years of research, sleepless nights, even while he may have been out into the world earning his money, he had his mind on the mission. Like a picture screen on the television when you watch, for those of us who watch TV, y'all, okay? Or for back in the days when you can remember when you did. Picture in picture was such a wonderful thing. You can watch a football game and keep an eye on the boxing match in a smaller screen. Well, many of us need to have that feature in our own mind that as we navigate the outside world, we have our minds on the collective mission. I said collective mission. I don't mean mission of selfishness. I don't mean mission of narcissism. I don't mean mission of I got to get mine and you just ASS out and you got to get yours. Because what good does it do for the collective? We're one, whether we like it or not. window. She was making some breakfast. I was still face down in the pillow. And she noticed a man who was walking two dogs this morning. And we try our best, not out of this show-off attitude or trying to outdo the Joneses, but Mrs. Scurv takes pride in her yard. There are videos that you see. She gets joy from keeping her hands in the soil. She gets joy from cultivating and talking to the plants. It's her get high. It's her escape from this wicked world. It's a time out from the stresses that come out of this world. It's a spiritual thing. But we have some people who look, this neighborhood, nothing but a hood. What does she think she's doing? As beautiful as this place looks, I'm not just saying the home, but the overall neighborhood. They've deemed it as a hood. And yes, we have some elements that would lend one to kind of think that not too far a mile down the road. But the Creator didn't make any hoods. The Creator did not make any hoods. It came from us and the brainwashing. And we manifest what is put in our mind because of the junk that we consume in these schools of indoctrination, because of the junk that we consume watching a TV set, because of the junk that we consume when we gossip amongst each other instead of having nutritious conversations that build the spirit, the mind, and the body. Here we are. Hey, girl. I know. I saw that man married. His car was parked out there all night. And he was out of there before the husband came home. Like pigs in flocks. So what do you expect to manifest when your mind is in that place? You want to keep your mind back, you will stay back. Some of us talk righteous and we're so caught up in the matrix. We talk righteous just enough as a Trojan horse to get next to that little pretty thing. Okay, I'll talk the talk. Or when you get a job, what do? You make sure the clothes are right. You make sure the hair is right. You make sure your nails are right. You make sure to study up on the company and say all the right things. But after a while, after you get the job that you wanted so bad, it's just a matter of time before you start to complain and feel entitled and get with that person who's been there forever, who can't stand it but never left it. We got to get our minds right, y'all. We have to consume the right food. I don't mean just the kind that bring calories, but the kind that bring results once it hits our mind and stokes that feeling and pulls that crap out of your eyes. So when the Mystic Philosopher comes on to the show and speaks and shares his wisdom, we all need to appreciate him. And even if you don't agree all the bit with everything that he says, let his iron sharpen your iron. But at least we're having a direct conversation, direct dialogue. It doesn't have to be strained through the enemy's media platforms. I myself have put myself out like a guinea pig. If you want to reach out to somebody who doesn't have their number out, call me. I have their numbers. Sometimes these days, because of the medication that I'm on from the Lyme disease and the malaria I just got over, I'm laying around the house a lot. But I'm still trying. It's not about fame. I blanked my face out when he was getting down in it. I didn't want no distractions. It's about servitude. Sometimes servitude is visible. Sometimes it's not. You go to the club. You'll see the pretty girl checking the coats. She's very visible. You see the bouncer at the door, security. And after you go and had a good time, you don't realize that for that restaurant there was a cook that you never saw. That there was somebody sitting there in the bathroom that kept everything clean and swept and sanitized. The analogy that I always like to use is that clock where you see the pretty hands in the faceplate, but there are countless gears that are so small that you probably wouldn't see them if you removed the faceplate, but they all work in unison for a common cause. This is what I'm talking about. And we're so disconnected with each other. And that's by design. And so many of us eat it up. We go for that. Instead of being happy for your brother or sister that she's elevating him or herself in the world, this thing comes over us and our face drops, and we don't like to see anybody else who looks like us excel. I've had people in my inner circles over the years the same way. They have to have everything. But the minute you achieve something through your hard work and deserve it, look at their face and their face drops and they look away. You'll have people who claim to be in your inner circle that they're all for you. And they won't even tell you when they find out a deal across town for something that you were looking at to purchase. Or they'll find that somebody was giving something away that they know you need. And a person will say, do you know anybody who needs this? I want to be a blessing to somebody. And that will turn, I don't know anything. I don't know anyone like that. And you find out later, you look at this person, you say, wow. We've got a lot to deal with. But even so, I didn't finish the part about those two dogs with that gentleman. He started to let the dogs crap in the yard. Mrs. Scurv yelled out, listen, please don't do that. Go on the curb or something. She didn't even say, you don't have anything to pick it up. He stands there, oh, I don't hear you. I don't hear you. Being funny. So I came to the door, but I didn't show my face. And I put some bass in my voice, and I told him, I said, keep it moving. I can't even repeat. I thought I was Barry White for a second. Why should I have to have such an interaction with a brother like that in a melanated neighborhood that looks so nice? No matter how nice things look sometimes with us, we still have that rotten to the core attitude with each other. And this is why I will always big up Ghana. I did not see that there for one instance, even in the mall where we had people that were so carnal, so worldly, trying to be Americanized, they still didn't have the attitude like that. Police officers, you go up to them and you ask them something, you talk, and they were so pleasant. There wasn't that thing, that psychic energy, attention, resistance, that thing you could feel that you just don't see. Those who we call animals, they have it. And they can look at you and tell what your spirit's all about. It's all they have to survive on. But we suck down these poisons of being around people. It's not just food. It's that too. Being around these people who don't like us. What kind of sickness is that? And we make every excuse to be up around them, and they don't want us. And it's making us sick to be in their presence, to be in their system, to go to their schools. The way they teach, our kids are not even created to absorb that lower vibration, barbaric way of teaching. A prime example, if you look at Western medicine, if something's wrong with one part, they deal with that one part. And if you go back to the original way in the motherland, they know that when something physical is ailing you, there's also an emotional element. There's also a mental element. Brother Yaga taught me, your kidneys take a beating when you're stressed. So some people say, well, I drink a lot of water every day. I drink this and I drink that, and I go to the gym and my kidneys are messed up. Well, it could be the stress. And one way that your body lets you know that your kidneys may be stressed is that you're quick to cry. Doesn't mean you're a punk. I'm very emotional, and I'm quick to cry. And I don't think I look like some punk. I feel for people. I feel for my brothers and sisters. If something hits you hard in your life, and you're near me, and you're crying, and I wrap my arms around you, trust me, I'm not doing it for show. Mrs. Skirt bumps her leg on something and she goes in pain, I run over to her, you all right? And my voice goes, I'm just like that. But the same person, if you put your hands on, I'm going to try to separate you from this life if it's that severe of a violation. You have to bring real men back. And ladies, you've got to know what a real man is. Brothers, we should not be in competition with each other. We got to realize that we're on the same side. We're feeling the same things. We're dealing with the same stresses out this world, in this system. This place has us all screwed up, and we need to come back into ourselves. I know I ran my mouth a little bit. Mystic Philosopher is still on the line, and I want him to give the final word, which you already did. I just want to open up your line again, Mystic Philosopher, and say how much I appreciate you and everything that you do, and I'm waiting for the next one. So when the ancestors instruct you, please let me know. And like you saw, when you sent that text, you were probably surprised that I shot it back so quick. My brother, I thank you so much.
Thanks again for having me, and really appreciate it. And I have, as I've mentioned, I've just introduced the topic. I didn't really speak on it. I spend most of the time answering some of the questions that I've received. So in the next episode, if you will, then we'll get right into the objectives that I made mention of, right? So I look forward with great anticipation to getting into it, to dissect some words and to, bring some things that it's not revealing. It's not. It's true that are obvious, but because we are so bombarded with other information, and as you mentioned the word stress, we are unable to see what is right there before our eyes. There's an old saying that we can't see the forest because the trees are in our way. So it's not necessarily new truths, right? But as I mentioned, most of us think that police equal force are here to serve and protect us, when in reality it is not so, definitely not so. It's a deception. And once we know the truth and understand what we are up against or what is up against us, then I think we can better able to maneuver our way through and try our best to stay safe, because the world is against us as melanin people. Only we don't know, but our enemies know what they are all about, what they were created for, and what they are doing to us. It's not by accident. It's deliberate. It's an awakening. I'm so happy that what's happening at one time, as I mentioned earlier, that I got a little bit frustrated. No response. Some of my own people that I went to school with thought I'm gone crazy because of some of the things I'm saying and dissecting. They say I could spend better time making money, which I had lost interest in for the past 10 years. I have no desire to chase after financial things.
No.
And I've lived my life much better since.
Exactly.
But I appreciate this platform, my brother, and I petition.
It's all yours, brother.
I petition for you that the ancestors will continue to keep it open and let us not get lazy and become too comfortable, because the enemies always plan ahead of us. And the things that are happening here and elsewhere, the truths that are being revealed and the awakening that is happening, they are uncomfortable with it. And they will do everything to subdue it. So we have to lift our vibrations higher. We have to get more in tune with truth, with knowledge. And the time will come when we will no longer need the internet. We should be communicating via the Ethernet, the ether. The trick is to keep us so dependent on their means of communication, their means of control, that we lose focus on who and what we are and the power and the potential within us. But it is happening, and I'm happy. At my old age I see things that are happening, and I just look forward to the younger generation, some young youth that are out there that have the energy. There is an old, when I quote the Bible or the Adamic race history book, it's not that I am preaching or such or giving it, whatever.
Oh, we understand, brother.
Yeah, but just like the language, I am in a position where I can use no other language to communicate with most people right now. I can communicate with the ancestors without the oppressor's language. Well, I like to quote from their book, which is a code book. And there's a scripture that said, "Young men, I call upon you because you're strong." It is if the victory that we are supposed to have, it is not through people like myself who has seen more than 3 scores already. And according to the said book, over 3,000 years ago, it was deciphered that an average we live 3 score and 10. I've passed 3 score. Which means that if by anything I have less than 10 years to go. So it is the youth, the young people. And one of the regrettable things I have found, even when I was associated with the church and I observe in politics, is that they're old, some of them they're living dead. Instead of giving opportunity to the youth who have the energy, young men, I call upon you because you're strong, because their minds are strong, they are quick thinkers. They have the energy, right, to sort things out. We just need as elders to be guiding them, to be putting them in charge. But what happened, a lot of old foot, I call them, using the Jamaican terms, are standing in the way of the youth.
Yes.
They are blocking the youth. And it is their time. My time is pretty much done. There's no way you should find me in a line, lining up with a 25-year-old who have just finished university or college, trying to get the same job for that youth. If I had failed to make it in my past time, there's no way I should be standing in the way now. And a lot of our older folks have failed to bring about change, to bring about truth, and still they are standing in the way of a lot of youth out there who are prepared to research, to delve into, to devote their time and for the cause of true liberation. But a lot of us are standing in their way. So I ask my ancestors to hasten the day when I see a lot more younger folks step forward with the zeal and the determination to let the will of the ancestors be done, because it's retribution time. We should be calling out for retribution upon our ancestors. When we see, for example, and we'll get into that into the next or some other session down the road.
Yes.
But when we see our youths, when we see how the enemy and our adversaries and the system, the agents of force, are murdering, slaughtering, killing, abusing and assaulting our young people. I see some of it with my own eyes. When you see that and your spirit move, when we see these things, the system trick us into, we see comments like, "May their soul rest in peace." No! We should not be asking our ancestors to rest in peace when we are in trouble. We should not be burying our children and after being murdered by the enemy and telling them, "Oh, may you rest in peace." No, we should be asking them that may they never rest in peace until retribution is brought upon our adversaries. That is what we need to do. This is time. We can't fight the adversary with their weapons. We dare not try that. We are not as wicked, as cruel, as cold. We didn't invent their weapons of mass destruction. So that is not our weapon. So let us not look there. We have to look to our source and our ancestors. And had it not been for our ancestors, our most honorable ancestors, and the spirits of Ashe, keeping us through the journey through the Atlantic oceans and all through what we are encountering now, had it not been for them being there, we would already be exterminated from the planet. Because for over 6,000 years, these creatures have been created to try and put an end to us, and we are still here. So let us look back to the source from whence we came and call upon the source that we belong to be our redemption, to be our deliverer, to be our guide. Let us not look to our enemies and their gods to save us, that they don't like us. And don't fool yourself, not because you are friends with some of them and what have you. No. No. But anyway, let me not get ahead of myself. Thanks again.
Yes, my brother. Thank you so much. And again, we're going to try. No, we're not going to try. We're going to do.
Exactly.
We're going to do better. Yeah. Let's demand of ourselves to do better.
Yes.
Let's demand of ourselves to be incrementally better than we were the day before. Just a little bit. we don't have to play the rocky music and go out there and just move mountains in our mind overnight. Let's just sit down still for a time and assess who we really are. Because honestly, a lot of us lie to ourselves. Really take some time and be still. And I have to admit, I was running so hard, going to work, coming back, doing stuff here, doing stuff in the morning time, doing this and doing all the regular stuff, cutting the grass, doing the stuff that men are supposed to do in their homes. And I pretty much, held it down. But after what happened to me when I came back from Ghana, not only did I have to assess myself, I had to deal with the fact that I was almost out of here. And so in the recuperation period, which still goes on to this very day, I had time, and I have even more time to think. I have more time now that I say, wait a second, what day is it? What's the date? What time is it? Not near o'clock, you look up at the sun, it's got to be around 2 o'clock. I can still do that. But you have no other time but to really look at yourself and peel back the layers of toxicity that have adhered themselves to you, that have been on you so long that sometimes you think it's a part of you. Most of what we think we are is not really us. This hard shell of an encrusted, toxic, how could I say it, matter. We got to scrub that off. It's like when you see a shiny new penny and you realize how dirty the other ones are in your pocket. It's like when you see a young teenager who is doing the right thing and they have so much enthusiasm for the world. And they shine so bright. And then we could see someone just a few years older, and because of their circumstances, their light has been pulled from them, and you can see it. Look at the young kids that haven't been really touched by the system, and see how they're playing and jumping around with each other. And as the years and decades go by, you have to go back to a younger and younger age to see that light. Because we have our children first. But it's almost like the movie The Walking Dead or Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead. You're in your house and you have these entities that are trying to come through the door and they're trying to come through the window, coming for the mind of your child. And eventually they will be around them. But if you don't put something strong and real in them, they'll know no different. And you look at your own child and look back at you, and you don't see any connection to yourself. You see a stranger because they've hijacked the mind of your child. Now they're a teenager. Now they're an adult. If they make it that far in this wicked world. So how much can we do to ourselves to clean ourselves off? Look, we came into this world clean. Yeah, we had to get cleaned up a little bit. That's a natural lubrication. But we had nothing. We had nothing. We came, we had nothing. I'm not trying to say we should not have anything. You want to have a dwelling or maybe a vehicle to get around or, I understand. But that's not important because we're going to leave out with nothing. So all in between, the pursuit, running the treadmill, chasing after a dollar that you don't even control the value that it has. And you're running yourself down for this, but your own family, your own neighbors who are righteous, because all neighbors aren't cool, all those in your extended community, which I consider everyone here, I'm seeing names. Jason, Jackson, Wright, Davita, Ace, Jason, Adwa, just different names. You all, I'm not going to go through the whole chat room, y'all know I love you. But the fact that you are here, spending time and having a conversation in the chat room while you listen to what we say, and you fellowship and You see how you think. You can say, hey, here's my email address. Reach out to me. I'd love to see that. This is what it's all about. While the rest of the world and the system is like acid tearing us apart, we're trying to bring ourselves together. Just like when I was in Ghana and saw that huge marketplace, Ghana's biggest marketplace. Everybody brought what they had of value together to share with each other. And that's the way it should be. Where you're weak for a time. We don't want you weak forever. But whatever area you're weak for a time, I'm supposed to be strong, or somebody else is supposed to be strong, and it's their duty to go in and fill that void. So you're not weak in that area anymore, because when you're weak in that area, it's like a little crack in the windshield. You keep hitting potholes, and the crack opens up more. And eventually, the whole windshield might crash on you. So when you see a little crack in somebody else, of your sister and brother, you got to be like that substance that they shoot in there, that resin that they shoot in there to close the crack. So you can't be too touchy when somebody sees a crack in your armor. They're doing you a favor. Don't tell me I ain't weak. That's none of your business. It might be saving your life. So we've got to be able to resonate with each other on a righteous level and take constructive criticism, because it's out of love. I'll publicly say it. My brother-in-law Kwaku has made me a better man, because he's never hesitated to tell me what I need to hear. Not what I want to hear, but what I need to hear to help guide me. And I asked him that. I said, brother, I will never take it as an offense when you give me the advice and the guidance that I need to see and know. I'll embrace it, no matter how harsh it is, even if you raise your voice. We got to get beyond that with each other and know that there's a basic love for each other, and we want to see each other do good. I mean a real love, not that superficial, I'm at the church gathering, taking pictures, and we're saying all these glowing things about each other, and we were on the way to the joint, we were cussing each other out or talking bad about each other. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a sustained love. That no matter what's going on around us, it's steady. Steady as she goes. That you might not like the choice that your brother or sister may have made, and you're there to guide them, but you still love them and will do the best for them. What happened to that? What happened to community? I mean, really, what happened to our melanated community? Here's a test for you. Here's a test. Remember back in the day, wherever it is you grew up, and you were walking home, in a block or two or 5 blocks or a mile, the closer you got to home, you felt more at home, right? Because there was more of a community. You began to know people. How did I go to school with that one? That's the new guy in the class. How you doing, Mr. So-and-so? Oh, you need me to help? Oh, hold on. I'm going to help inside the house with some groceries. That might be 5 blocks away. And I know we talk about the church, but it may have been when you know them from it, because many of us are coming out of the experience, so I'm not going to say I've never been. But you know them. They honk the horn. You can be 2 miles away. You begin to have this feel of I'm known, and people know me, and I know people, and I'm home. Your physical house or apartment might be a distance away. But the closer you get is the more you feel at home. These days, sometimes we don't feel at home, and if you happen to live in a separated dwelling called a house, we don't feel at home until we get right to that front door, because there's no sense of community anymore. We don't even know our neighbors. We don't even know when they left, if they sold their house next door to you, and we don't even know if they left. You just see different people. When did they come? And we begin to feel alone and empty and disconnected, and we believe that this is the way it should be. You see people in your neighborhood, you look away. And if you do wave to them or say, I've had situations here, like, good morning, how are you? Looking at you. Like, what? I'll do it again. Good morning, how are you? And they just, okay. You know what I mean? Some of us are out of our mind. Doesn't mean I want to get in your business, but we can't have a community feel. Because what happens if your loved one is having a heart attack in the middle of the night and your cell phone is not charged and your house phone, cordless phone is not charged and you need to knock my door to have me make a phone call? How are you going to feel? I'll make the call. I'm not going to rub it in your face. But how are you going to feel? I remember if I got locked out of my house growing up, it was an annoyance. Oh man, I'm locked out. Now why did I do that or say that? Because I wanted to go into my home, to my room, to my toilet, to my kitchen, to my bed. But it wasn't a problem. I had a whole block, 39 houses on that block. 39. Some I knew was more comfortable with. And others, it's like, yeah, I know you and I'm comfortable with you, but I'd rather go over there because I like it better. So the neighbors might be outside, and they see me walking away from the door. And I'm a little boy. I'm little lad, and I have the big knapsack and maybe a book in my hand, and I'm looking across the street to see who might be out, and I got 3, 4, 5, 6 immediate invitations. Lance, you locked out? Is everything okay? You know you can come over here. And I'm like, you know, you can come. I go over. I'm eating good. I'm kicked back until my parents got home. Even though I devised ways of getting in the house when nobody was home. you gotta stay ahead of the curve, y'all. But community and its effects on our psyche and our children. Sometimes, and that's not the case with me anymore. But sometimes we come home, push the key in the door, and we still don't feel that sense of community. We still don't feel that sense of home. Isn't that terrible? It shows we got a lot of work to do, not just as melanin people on the outside, the community, but some of us need to get our houses straight. Because that one brick of your house has to stack up with the next brick of someone else's household, and together you build. But if your brick is cracked and devalued and not worth anything, well, how are you going to be worth anything to a community and your people? So we got to keep things tight within our inner circle. And that starts with us and meditating and being who we are. We have to. On that note, I'm going to wrap it up. We definitely will be back later on. And 7 Queen for Knowledge. Thank you for being here. Trisha Coakley, Alice Little, King Wage, Ori Teal Gunn. Thank you for being here. Isaac Wren. And you know there are more names up there. Faquana, much love, much thanks. We are one. Remain. Yes, I'm glad you're here. Notifications, you got to hit the bell icon to get them, even when you subscribe. But there are individuals who tell me they still don't get the notifications. I was told earlier that the sound was low and the sound was knocked out on that individual. So they're doing little things to this program, but we have to connect directly. You see my email down there at the bottom, my phone number, which goes for WhatsApp also, 407-590-0755, LanceScurv.com, the blog, of course, but scurvmedia@gmail.com is the email. Granted, yesterday we were going to have a show with Mama Hadassah, and something came up, and then when I got back, I had to crash. I'm still going through my recuperation period, and that medication is no joke, very hot, toxic. But there's no other choice right now to kill off what that Lyme disease thingy there. So it's going to be all right. It's getting better. And we're going to forge forward with strength, determination, And you see, when you fight and you know you're going to win, I mean, when you really know you're going to win, and even when things seem like they're impossible and unsurmountable, it's a joy to fight when you know you're going to win. And I know we're going to win. And some of us who look like us may not be there when we do win, but we fight for them also, whether they know it or not, even when they fight against us. Well, hopefully we can get enough, or we can get all to wake up. But I won't worry about the numbers or proportions of those who have. All I say is that at the end of the day, for those of us who are not only just conscious, but spiritually connected, I know we're going to win. On that note, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to play the Mystic Philosopher song, Don't Call the Police. I like that song. We're going to play it now, and I'll wrap it up with our theme song, and we'll be back a little later. I definitely want to hear from everybody. Know that I love you. I'm going to keep on doing this, not just once a week, once a month, but we fight and swing for the hills every day. Because this is not a passing fancy. We live this. Thank you all so much. I love you all.
You're lost, but please don't you call the police. Come home safe, my son, but please don't you call the police.